morning, children. Stay safely at home. So today I am starting the next chapter, capacitors and dielectrics. Now we have to recall whatever we studied about the conductors and insulators. So what are conductors? Everybody knows. Conductors which can conduct electricity, and why it can conduct electricity? Because it has free electrons within it. Alright, and you know that free electron, they are free to roam within the conductor. When an external electric field is applied, potential is applied, then only they can come out, leaving the potential, overcoming the potential barrier, and if they are allowed to flow through a closed circuit, they give rise to electric current. That was our concept. And what are insulators? Insulators are those which cannot conduct electricity. Alright, and insulators do not have free electrons. Remember that insulators are also known as dielectrics. While teaching you the dielectric constant in the first chapter, I told you already, again I am repeating, that insulators are also called as dielectrics. Alright, so insulators or dielectrics, they cannot conduct electricity, but remember they respond to the electric effect. How? That if you apply an electric field, then you will see that induced charges will appear on the surface of the insulator or dielectric. Alright, so this is the most important basic concept regarding the dielectric, and you have to remember it lifelong. Okay, what is the most important point regarding dielectrics? I said that insulators or dielectrics cannot conduct electricity, but when electric field is applied on them, then induced charges are developed on the surface of the dielectrics. Alright, so these are the basic important points regarding conductors and insulators that you have to learn and remember. Next topic is coming. What is the capacitance of a conductor? Alright, capacitance means the ability of the conductor to hold the electric charge. I hope you have understood what is capacitance of a conductor. Ability of the conductor to hold electric charge is known as the capacitance of the conductor. Alright, I have said it verbally, you must note it down. I am repeating, the ability of a conductor to hold the electric charge on it is known as electric capacitance of the conductor. Alright, now already we have seen that potential of a conductor is given by this relation. I hope you can remember, where V is the potential and Q is the charge given to it and R is the radius for a spherical conductor. So from this relation it is clear, you see, more charge given, more will be the potential. So one can write that Q is directly proportional to V. Alright, Q is the charge given to it and V is the rising potential. Clear what I said? Q is the charge given to the conductor and V is the rising potential of the conductor. They are directly proportional to each other. So you see, you can write Q is equal to some constant of proportionality. We are denoting it by C and V. So this C is known as capacitance of the conductor. Alright. Now you see here, you can write capacitance then Q by V. So how you can define capacitance? Capacitance is charge given to it divided by V is what? Rising potential. Remember, that I have not said that potential. It is rising potential of the conductor. Alright, so this is the basic concept of the capacitance of a conductor. Now, SI unit of capacitance C is farad. Alright, now farad as it is the name of a scientist, so when you write the full form it will be small f, but when you write down only one it will be big F. So you see, according to this relation, 1 farad is equal to 1 coulomb by 1 volt. Alright, again you know that volt is equal to joule per coulomb. So you see it is coming coulomb square divided by joule. Again joule you can write it as Newton meter. Alright, so 1 farad is equal to coulomb square per Newton per meter. So these are the relations between the farad and the unit of charge and SI unit of force and the distance. So this is the point you have to remember, learn and remember, and this is also the point you have to learn and remember. And before that already I said what is capacitance, ability of a conductor to hold the charge. So these are the 3 points you have to write, learn and remember. Next is dimension of capacitance. So we have got that capacitance you can write it as coulomb square divided by Newton meter. Alright, this is the unit. From that you can write down what is the dimension. Because coulomb you know ampere into time. So it is ampere times square. Newton is mLt to the power minus 2 and meter means L. So what are you getting? You see m to the power minus 1, then L to the power minus 2, and then A and T to the power you are getting it as 4. Alright, so this is the dimension of capacitance and you must learn and remember it. Is that clear? Sorry, here A square, it will be A square. A square m to the power minus 1, L to the power minus 2, and then A square T to the power 4 is the dimension of capacitance. Next is capacitance of a spherical conductor. Now suppose you have taken a spherical conductor of radius r and suppose plus q charge is given to it. Then you know that charges will reside on the surface of the conductor, and what will be the potential of the conductor? It is given by V 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r. Is that clear? So you see what will be the capacitance of the conductor. You know that q is equal to CV. So C is equal to q by V. So if you substitute it, what you are getting 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r, q cancel, so it is becoming 4 pi epsilon naught r. So you must remember it that C is equal to 4 pi epsilon naught r. Alright. So this is the expression for the capacitance of a spherical conductor. Now this derivation is very simple. Alright, only 2 steps you have to write, and whatever I said verbally, if the derivation come in exam, don't forget to write that. Means suppose there is a spherical conductor of radius r plus q charge is given to it. So due to that the potential at the surface of the conductor is given by V is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r, and then you write down this relation. So from this relation it is clear, you see that capacitance of the conductor, it depends on the radius. C is directly proportional to R. Is that clear? Capacitance of the conductor is directly proportional to the radius of the conductor. So, if you plot C versus R graph, what will be the nature of the graph? It will be a straight line passing through the origin. Now here you see we have considered that it is in air or vacuum. Is that clear? Now if it is not in air or in vacuum, means if the absolute permittivity of the conductor it is epsilon, of the medium is epsilon, then it will become, C will become 4 pi epsilon r. Is that clear? So you see, you can write it as for any other medium, what you can write C is equal to 4 pi epsilon r. Is that clear? And you know epsilon is equal to K into epsilon naught r, where K is the dielectric constant of the medium. So from this relation it is clear that C is directly proportional to K, capacitance of the conductor. It is directly proportional to the dielectric constant. So if you plot a C versus K graph, then also it will be a straight line passing through the origin. So these two graphs, these two relations, these are important for your board exam. Please do learn it because this is a very easy and simple topic. Now you see, from this relation C is equal to 4 pi epsilon naught r. Another thing we are getting, epsilon naught you can write it as C divided by 4 pi r. So you see, you can write the unit of epsilon naught as it is farad per meter. You see, so this is another important concept. Sometimes in the multiple choice type question you may get this option. Alright, so you must remember it, that another unit of electric permittivity of free space or electric permittivity, you can write it as farad per meter. Then the next concept is potential energy stored in a charged conductor. Alright, so that one we have to find out. Now you just understand it. When you are charging a conductor, how you are doing? You are adding the charges one by one. So you see, first when you are adding the first charge, you don't have to do any work. Then in presence of the first charge, when you are bringing the second charge and keeping it here, then and to maintain it here, what you have to do? You have to do work against the repulsive force of the first charge. Alright. So as here work is done by the external agency on the charged conductor. So what will happen? That work done will be stored as potential energy within the conductor. Alright. So we have to now find out what is the potential energy stored in a charged conductor. Now let us consider that at any time Q be the small q be the charge present in the conductor and the potential charge present in the conductor, and the potential at that time is given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R. Is that clear? Means initially how much charge was present? Q be the charge present in the conductor, and so what will be the potential? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R. Is that clear? Now suppose dq amount of charge is added to it. Alright, so when you will add dq amount of charge, then you have to do certain amount of work done. What will be the work done? You know work done is equal to potential multiplied by the charge brought. So work done, small work done in adding the small charge dq, you can write it as dw is equal to v into dq. Alright, now if you substitute the expression for v, then you can write it as q by r dq. Is that clear? Everybody has understood? Now you see what is happening. So if you, instead of adding q amount of charge, suppose you have added capital Q amount of charge, means you want to add plus q amount of charge to the conductor. So what will be the total work done? Total work done will be, we have to integrate the expression. Now you see, here if you want to find out what is the total work done, then you have to integrate it. So you can write it as integration 0 to w dw. Then on this side you have to write it as initial charge was 0, then you have added the total charge q. So you can write it as v dq. We will not use this one Why? Because R is not needed here. We have to express it in terms of the capacitance. So you see, V you can write it as Q by C GQ. Alright, means 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R, or you can write it as Q by C. So you can write it integration 0 to big Q, Q by C GQ. So you see here 1 by C you can, because capacitance it is not depending on this one integration, so you can take it outside the integration. So integration Q dQ is Q square by 2. Now you have to put the limit Q and 0. So if you put the limit, upper limit, then it will become Q square by 2C, then minus, when you will put the lower limit, it will come as 0. Alright, so you see what is, and on the right side what you are getting, integration 0 to W is nothing but W. So one can write the work done in charging the conductor by a charge capital Q is given by W is equal to Q square by 2C. Now what will happen to this work done? What I said, this work done will be stored as potential energy within the conductor. So one can write this work done is equal to the potential energy stored within the conductor, and which is given by Q square by 2C. So this is one relation for the potential energy of a charged conductor. Very important relation. So according to this relation, if you plot a U versus Q graph, the graph will be a curve like this. Alright, it will be a curve like this. Means if you increase Q, go on charging the conductor, then the potential energy of the conductor will increase according to this graph. Again you see here, one can write Q is equal to C into V. So if you write Q is equal to C into V, then you see it will become C square V square, and here another C is there, so you can cancel. So you can write it as C square V square by 2C, means U is equal to half CV square. So this is another expression for potential energy stored in a charged capacitor. So in this case you see U is depending on V, and exactly same kind of dependence, only the constant are different. It is 1 by 2C here and it is C by 2 here. So if you plot a U versus V graph, what will be the nature of the graph? Same as that of Q only. Alright, it will be a curve like this. So this is also another important derivation for your board exam. So those who are having numerical phobia, please do learn this derivation. Both the derivation I taught till now important for your board exam, and the corresponding relations and graphs also. Please do learn and remember both the derivation and all the relations and graphs. Next is redistribution of charges. Means suppose you have two conductors, one is having charge Q1, another conductor is having charge Q2. Let us consider potential of the first conductor be V1 and potential of the second conductor be V2. Means it was initially. Alright, there are two conductors. One is having charge Q1, potential V1, and second conductor having charge Q2 and potential V2. Now, suppose you have joined them by a conductor. Then you know what will happen. Charges will flow among them. Isn't it? There will be redistribution of charge. Alright. Now the question arises that how the charges will be distributed, how long the charge will transfer between the two conductors. Alright, here the basic concept, the most important concept in physics regarding this is that charges are transferred until and unless the potential of the two conductors become equal. Alright, now I hope you can remember when 9th standard I gave you the concept of the potential. The concept of potential was given by comparing it with heat and temperature. Alright, you know that heat transfer takes place between the two bodies till the temperature becomes equal, and that's why we say that temperature is the thermal state of the body which determines the direction of flow of heat. Not only that, how long the heat will flow, isn't it? And exactly in the same manner, potential also we have defined. It is the electrical state of the body which determines the direction of flow of heat. That's why whenever two charged conductors are connected with each other, alright, then what will happen? Charge will flow, positive charge will flow from high potential to low potential. How long it will flow? Till the potential becomes equal. Alright, so let us consider here, after the redistribution of charge, the final potential, which is also known as common potential. Alright, why it is known as common potential? Because as I said, when the potential of the two conductors will become equal, then only the flow of electric charge between them will be stopped. So what will be the common potential V? You know that Q is equal to CV. So according to this concept, that V is given by Q by C. So when it is common potential, then you are considering both the conductor as one system. Alright. So what will be the charge? The charge will be nothing but the total charge of the system. And then what will be the capacitance? Capacitance will be the total capacitance of the system. So here you see what is the total charge, Q1 plus Q2, and what is the total capacitance, C1 plus C2. So one can write this way, and another one, Q1 is equal to C1 V1, Q2 is equal to C2 V2, where C1 and C2 are the potential of the two conductors respectively. So you see what is the expression for common potential. Expression for common potential is either you can write Q1 plus Q2 by C1 plus C2, or you can write it as C1 V1 plus C2 V2 by C1 plus C2. As I have written within the rectangle, what does it mean? You have to learn and remember the formula for solving the numericals, answering 1 mark question. Now, let us consider that after the connection, when potential of both the conductor has become V, let us consider the new charge present in them is given by Q1 dash and Q2 dash. Alright. So you see Q1 dash, you can write it as C1 into V. Alright. Because capacitance does not depend on the charge present on it. You have seen C is given by 4 pi epsilon not R. So it depends on R and epsilon. Both of them we are not changing here. Is that clear? So capacitance depends on the dimension of the conductor. It does not depend on how much charge is given to it. Alright? This is very important concept regarding the capacitance. C is equal to Q by V. So don't think that C depends on Q, C depends on V. No, C does not depend on Q and V. Because moment you will increase Q, V will also increase and C will remain the same. So capacitance of the conductor, it depends on the dimension of the conductor. It does not depend on how much charge is given to it or how much is the potential. Alright, so one can write that Q1 dash is equal to C1V and Q2 dash is equal to C2V. So if you take the ratio, how much it is coming? Q1 dash by Q2 dash is equal to C1 by C2. We will get cancelled. So this is another important concept in physics. What is the concept? Here we are getting that whenever the two conductors, charge conductors, are connected together electrically, then what will happen? Charges will be redistributed according to their capacitance. Q1 dash by Q2 dash is equal to C1 by C2. So according to the capacitance of the conductor, there will be redistribution of charges among the conductors. Now whenever redistribution of charges takes place among the conductor, then always there will be some loss in the energy. Alright, why the loss in the energy? Without doing any mathematical derivation, you can just logically say that there will be a loss in the energy. Why the loss in the energy? You see, when redistribution charges are taking place, charges are moved from one place to other. So when the charges are carried from one place to other, certain amount of work definitely has to be done, isn't it? And to do the work, certain amount of energy is needed. Now the question will arise, where from the energy will come? Because you see, when you are connecting the two conductors, the charges are transferred by themselves, isn't it? So to transfer the charge, the work done, to energy needed, where from it will come? It will come from the energy of the system itself. Alright, so as a result, what will happen? There will be a loss in energy of the system. Now what we will do? We will calculate how much is the loss in the energy. Alright, so let us calculate what is the initial energy. Now what is the initial energy? Energy of the first conductor. So what is the energy of the first conductor? Half C1 V1 square. Then plus energy of the second conductor. So what is the energy of the second conductor? Half C2 V2 square. So this is the initial energy of the conductor. Alright. Now if you consider after connection, what will be the energy of the conductor? It will be half into total capacitance C1, C2, alright, into the common potential square. What is the expression for the potential energy? Half CV square. So you see, when you are calculating the final potential energy of the system, then what will be the capacitance of the system? C1 plus C2. And what is the potential of the system? The common potential. So you can write it as half C1 C2 into V square. Now, what is the expression for V square? V is equal to, I hope you can remember, C1 V1 plus C2 V2 divided by C1 plus C2. So as it is squared, it will be squared and it will be squared. So you see this C1 plus C2 and squared, you can get cancelled. So you are getting half C1 V1 plus C2 V2 whole square divided by C1 plus C2. This is the final potential energy. So you see, as it is a loss in energy, so always final potential energy will be less than the initial potential energy. So how to calculate the loss in energy? Loss in energy, it will be Ui minus Uf. So after that, simple mathematics we have to do. So you are getting C1 V1 square, then plus half C2 V2 square minus 1 by 2 into C1 plus C2 into, and in the numerator you are having C1 V1 plus C2 V2 whole square. Alright. Now little bit mathematics we have to do. So if you just take the LCM of the denominator, you are getting 2 into C1 plus C2. Now you see, what it will be? C1 V1 square into C1 plus C2. So I am opening the bracket and writing it together. So you are getting C1 square V1 square plus C1 C2 V1 square. Then for the second term, it will be C2 V2 square into C1 plus C2. So you can write it as C1 C2 V2 square plus C2 square V2 square. Alright. Now come to the third term. Third term, what it will be? Simply you have to expand it. So if you expand it, remember there is a negative sign before the bracket. So I am expanding and taking the negative sign into consideration also. So what you are getting? C1 square V1 square, then it will be minus 2 C1 C2 V1 V2, then minus C2 square V2 square. So you see here C1 square V1 square minus C1 square V1 square, so you can cancel. Then C2 square V2 square minus C2 square V2 square, you can cancel. Then you see there are 3 terms. In all the 3 terms, C1 and C2 are there. So you can take C1, C2 common. It is then after taking common, what you are getting? V1 square plus V2 square minus 2V1 V2 divided by 2 into C1 plus C2. So you can write it as C1 C2, then V1, difference between V1 and V2 whole square. Alright, why I have written difference? Because I don't know which one is bigger. Or simply you can give the difference sign also, because square sign is there. So it is 2C1 plus C2. So this is the expression for loss in potential energy. I am writing it separately here because sometimes you may have to use it directly to solve the numericals. So you are supposed to learn and remember the formula separately. Alright, the derivation you may not have to do, but the formulae discussed in this topic, the last topic, you are supposed to remember. Alright, so delta U is C1 C2 into V1 minus V2 whole square divided by 2 into C1 plus C2. So what are the other relations we have learned from the last topic? That common potential is C1 V1 plus C2 V2 by C1 plus C2. Then how the charges are distributed? Q1 dash by Q2 dash is equal to C1 by C2. Then last one, how much is the loss in potential energy or loss in energy of the system due to redistribution of charge? That is given by C1 C2 into V1 minus V2 whole square divided by 2 within bracket C1 plus C2.